Alright, Impact Wrestling. Day before against all odds. We get this. I'm not going to tell you that this was boring, because it wasn't. I'm not going to tell you that the Kentucky crowd was bad, because they weren't. They were pretty good. They were very loud, particularly in the last match. So I'm very happy about that. But here's my problem. And this is a major problem for TNA right now. Until they make a decision on what they really want to be and what they want to do, no matter how these TNA Plus shows come off, because I will be doing Against Odds, unless there's some type of problem, I'll be reviewing it. As it stands right now, TNA is at a very nasty crossroads right now. Because as much as people are going to say, dude, what is wrong with you? Why are you watching TNA? You're complaining so much. There's a reason. Understand this. TNA's management has a problem. If you don't know, they've already outwardly spoke that they're upset because the ratings haven't gone up. This isn't a reviewer. This is not a reviewer stating this. This is not a podcaster saying this. This is not me stating it. It is TNA themselves saying that they're disappointed that their ratings haven't gone up. Then Jordan Grace spoke about it, and then she had no choice but to delete the tweet. Now, understand, I could have left this at the end of my review, but there's no point in doing it at the end of the review when it should just be spoken about right now. TNA has a problem. And it's not going to be cutting the fat like a few people will think. This is not about that. We have a major issue. We have someone who owns this company, who's the head of Anthem, who legitimately, as far as I can tell, does not care about growing this company. He does not. He's keeping it so he can make sure that his network, Access TV, gets content. That's the way it looks. Now, if that changes, I will change my opinion, because then at least I will see change. But as it stands right now, the only thing I've seen is that TNA is owned by a company, Anthem, by a CEO who only cares about feeding content to his network. And as a satellite company, and that is TNA, I don't believe they're ever going to grow the way they need to. 19,000 views, guys. 19,000 views that we got for the ratings. And understand, this is not coming from the fans. This is not coming from a podcaster like myself. This is coming from TNA internally. So get with the program. There's an issue here. Now, I had to say that because I didn't want to wait. Because if I tried, I'm going to start thinking about it. And then I'll start botching more worse than I normally do. So, what did we get in the beginning of this show? We get, well, let me give it to you like this. The interview with Mustafa Ali was a good one. And it was exactly what I expected it to be. When Tom is basically confronting him all the stuff he's done. And seeing, not Champagne Singh, but a, what would I really consider Singh as right now? Because he could be easily called Campaign Singh. But literally, do I believe that a Jinder Mahal is coming to TNA? Because I know someone's going to say it. I don't know. I can't tell you. And I know people are going to say, someone's going to say this in the comments, because someone already did. And as I said before, please stop giving me dirt sheet information. Unless it's something that is bad, or something that needs to be reviewed on a Gump report. I don't want to know, but they already told me about Jeff Hardy, which I didn't want to know. If Jeff was coming back at Against All Odds, I'd rather be surprised at it. You guys don't hear me, or basically you don't give a damn. I already know about Jeff now, and I already know about Ricochet and people saying that he's going to go to TNA as well. I don't know if he's going there, or Matt Riddle either. Because supposedly Matt Riddle has been in negotiation for months. So, whether Jeff, Ricochet, or Matt Riddle actually goes to TNA or not is not the point here. The point now is, what is TNA going to do with them? Because as it stands, where Mustafa Ali looked very good, and we will get more people, hopefully, for him to deal with. The question's going to be, after Trent 7, what's next? Because let's be honest, Mustafa Ali is one of the most interesting people they got on the show at this point, because they really don't spotlight the people very properly. Next, let's go to the first match, which is Zack versus... Let me give it you like this. Seeing Zack versus Santana. I'm going to give you like this. It was not a bad match. But this really wasn't about the match now, was it? It wasn't. This really wasn't about the match. This is about if the partnership between Santana and Maclin can work. Because Maclin did save his butt once Trey tried to do something about it. I'm going to tell you this. I'm cool seeing that Maclin may work with Santana once. I'd be cool if they do it one more time. But I will not be cool seeing Santana work multiple times with Maclin as a tag team. Because at this point in his career, Maclin doesn't need to have a tag team. And Santana, who just broke away from Pride and Power, mostly due to the fact of his addiction, and now he's trying to reconstruct himself for his daughter in real life. Because he was addicted. I want to see both these guys actually be used and utilized. I want to see Maclin have his own ride. I want to see Santana have his own rise. I don't care if Maclin goes for the X Division and Santana goes for the world title. I personally don't care. I just want to see it, and I want to see proper booking for both of them. They need it at this point in this company. Proper booking. So the match is fine. We see Santana getting saved by Maclin because of Trey. And the question now is, after this one and done, will they actually put Santana as something important along with Maclin? Will Maclin go for the X Division, or will Santana go for the X Division? Will Maclin go for the world title, or will Santana go for the world title? And eventually, I know we're going to meet them together again. Will they both be developed by that time? Let's move on. Next match. We got Marsha Slamovich versus Marty Bell. Now, we didn't have a issue with her because she was at the Hardy compound that I have my thoughts on. And you may not like it. I'm telling you right now, you may not like my thoughts on the Hardy compound. And understand, I've seen this multiple times already. So, not saying about this episode. I'm talking about the Hardy compound. It depends on how they did it, and you'll understand what I mean. But, what did we really get here? We got pretty much Marsha jobbing to a Marty Bell. If it had been Allison Kay, I could believe it more. But Marty, if it wasn't for Allison helping her, I could never believe Marty would even come close to beating Marsha Slamovich. But as it stands, when you look at Marsha, remember when she first came in, she was a dominant monster until she had that feud with Killer Kelly. And then they became a tag team. And then Killer Kelly is gone. Marsha, as far as I'm concerned, had gone from when she first came in like this. Then went to this. Feud. Tag team. Now, being in another tag team, that's how she feels. Now, it doesn't mean I don't like Marsha. I'm just telling you how she looks. How she's been booked. That's what you need to understand. The booking is not very good for Marsha. And we still got women here that need to be presented so we can have something for Jordan Grace. And I don't feel any booking for Marsha Slamovich other than just being an afterthought for the system. Next, Tasha Steelz versus Dani Luna. Now, when we see the lead singer for Ranson, Fredrickson. I don't really listen to a lot of punk rock. Let me give it to you like this. It's good to see that he's their manager. The person I really wish he would be the manager of is Ruby Soho, but unfortunately Ruby is pregnant right now and she's going to be giving birth to her first child. So he can't really do anything with her until she comes back. And depending if she comes back, she probably will, but it's going to depend on when. Because she could be gone for a year and a half before she finally comes back and actually starts wrestling again. But I kind of wish he could have been her manager. Then when it comes to Jody Threat. In fact, I kind of hope, and this is me, I don't know when Ruby Soho's, well, I don't know when her contract's up. I think she should go and work with Spitfire. She should be with them and should be with Fredrickson, who's her friend, just like Jody Threat is her. I think Jody Threat knows her. There's no way she doesn't. Those two got to know each other because they both know the same guy. So I wouldn't mind seeing them team together. Doesn't have to be in AEW, can be in TNA. But that's what I really want to see. Was the match between Tasha and Danny Luna good? Honestly, no. It felt off. For me personally, it felt off. Danny is not a bad wrestler, and neither is Tasha. Tasha is a very good wrestler. But it felt like the chemistry was off for me personally. Doesn't mean they didn't do what they needed to do. They did. But there's a spark you can feel between two wrestlers. And honestly, it wasn't there for me. You can tell me if you felt the spark. I did not. Just because you can work well with a wrestler doesn't mean that you can make magic with that person. And with Danny, I just didn't see it. Now, we got another women's match. Well, another knockouts match. We got, Jada Stone, the Spark, as she called herself. And she's been working on Explosion, which I don't watch because I'm not going to spend money on Explosion. I'm just not. But as I've seen her from this one time, she's interesting. Her ring work is good. She has somewhat of a personality because she was asked at the very opening of the match who this was by the concierge, the Iceman. And then she had a match with Ash Elegance, where I'm glad they did put over Ash for what she did at Battleground, messing with a Tatum Paxley who was trying to grab the TNA title. And while this was going on, we had a little bit of Rosemary with a knife. And I'm like, okay. We got Rosemary up in the rafters in a blue light, showing a lot of cleavage, with a knife, or just staring, and then pulls out a knife. And I'm going like, okay. What are we getting with Rosemary here? This isn't the original, how can I say this? When you see when Rosemary first came in, and how she was developed when she came in, and you wonder, where are we going with this? It's not the demon assassin. We got someone who just seems dark. And I don't know what to really make of it. Is it good? Is it bad? We just don't know yet. We just see her going, I don't know. This is going to take time. And it's depending on if they're going to have the patience to make it work. And that is the TNA writing and the creative. I don't know. Let's move on to the backstage segments before the final match. Gretchen looked interesting as he was talking about dealing with Sammy. I do not know how far they're going to be going with Gretchen the Octopus, as every time he faces someone, he makes them sick with his ink. The question is going to be, are they going to really make him into something, or is this just a gimmick that's going to fade off in a short amount of time? I really want to see if they really will make him important. He didn't do a bad segment. He didn't. Saying that, let's see who's better. Is it me or is it your immunity system? That I do like, because anytime he messed with somebody who got the ink, he basically gives them the ink and they get sick. So this is going to be interesting to see how far they go with it. Now, the next part. How can I say this when it comes to First Class getting cold cocked by PCO, because PCO saw that Steph Delander's rose was taken from her as she's talking with Zaya Brookside about, am I going to answer PCO? And she said she'll do that against all odds. And then the black rose is taken by AJ Francis, and AJ Francis gets cold cocked behind the head. And then pretty much Rick Swan gets cold cocked. And now both of them are angry at him, and they're going to have the match at against all odds. And it's going to be Swan versus PCO. Instead of PCO versus AJ Francis. So it's basically the way it looks, that AJ is the mouthpiece still in this group, even though he'll wrestle periodically. And Rick Swann will be doing all the heavy lifting of the wrestling between the two as a tag team. Unless they're going to go for tag team gold, then he's going to have to do a little bit more than just light lifting. As it stands for me personally, I'm not saying it's bad. But the question is going to be how far they're going to go with PCO, definitely. Because I'm hoping they're not going to do a wedding thing, please. I don't care if PCO and Staff Delano. I don't know how far they're going to go with it, but let's see what they're going to do with both the First Class and Steph Delano and PCO. Final thing I'll talk about before the match will be the Hardy compound and the system. First, we see the Brian Myers trip. Then we see the Team Wolf Eddie Edwards. We see the beheading of Alicia Edwards. And then we see Moose turn back into a football player. This is what we got. 4 seconds for each of them. And you know what it felt like? It felt like it should have been a week before. Yeah. It feels like they needed to have this done 1 week before now. And then we can have the context of how they all felt about it. And will it affect them going in against all odds? That's what it feels like it needed to be. Now, I'm not going to lie to you about this. That when I saw this, I'm thinking, why are they doing a Hardy compound thing? It should be saved for Against All Odds. I wish they would do this at Against All Odds. Let's make this clear. I'm one of the few people who believed in Matt Hardy doing the Broken Brilliance gimmick years ago. Years ago. Very few even thought about it. I think Alex might have been the only other person next to myself that might have thought that Matt Hardy's gimmick might work. Because I didn't think JD even cared at that time. Because he wasn't looking at TNA. Even if he did hear about it as a tweet. I'm one of the few people who've always been happy to see what Matt Hardy can do. And seeing that the opening of the entire segment was fine. Seeing these 4 segments after the bombardment of the firecrackers and everything was alright. It makes you think that, what did we really get here? Guys, there's nothing wrong with having a home war in Matt Hardy's compound. But then you think, this should be something special. Special. And if you're not setting something up at least a couple of weeks ahead of time, that when it's done, that people have a chance to really let it absorb in. Like they used to do in Impact Wrestling. That they give us that thing at, an Impact Plus show or pay-per-view. This is now going into a TNA Plus show where there's no time to really react. It's 1 day difference, even if this was recorded weeks ago. Problem here is it feels like it needed time to marinate after it happened, and there's no marination. And as much as it wasn't bad, it feels like it deserved more time, and we didn't get it. And that's the sad point here. And that kind of makes me think of how the booking is in TNA. It's not much better than the booking in AEW. They don't really do long-term booking for the majority of their wrestlers. They should be. You don't do long-term booking for one wrestler. You should do at least 3 wrestlers should have long-term booking. Or a feud should have long-term booking, more than just a month. 6 months would be the bare minimum, counting on if it's an important person. A really good person, 5 months, 4 at the most at least, and you don't get that from TNA. Unless they really decide they want to really be serious, I just don't see it. Now, final match. We get the first time, which is the good time. We got Ryan and Nick Nimitz versus ABC. This is legitimately, and I've seen Chris Van Vlien's video with Ryan. Him and his brother never wrestled together. They never did. They've never done pro wrestling together at all. Ryan has been on the independents, and Nick went straight into WWE, and he's been working there ever since until recently. So they've never had a chance to tag together, not once. So this legitimately is their first time ever tagging as a tag team, and when you look at the match, it shows. It's not that it's a bad tag. It's not. You got 2 brothers who are wrestlers who have never tagged together, and seeing that Tom and let me give it to you like this. Hearing Tom was fine, but hearing Matthew made it more better. Because Matthew, as a pro wrestler formerly, or still maybe, his perspective was more important to me than it was Tom's perspective, because he can understand, because he's worked with people who are tag team brothers, and seeing his perspective and him saying clearly, since they really had no time, this is the first time they're going to tag, and then tomorrow they're going to tag again, how did they make it work? And he says, it sounds corny, depend on your brother, your blood, because that's all you got. You have no time to really develop anything. This isn't weeks or months ahead of time. This is only a day. So that legitimately did give context for me personally. And the match itself was actually good. If you see Ryan as an individual wrestler and Nick as an individual wrestler going up against Chris Bay or Ace Austin, they're both good wrestlers. Ryan is not a bad wrestler. I never said he was. It's just that they never depicted him in AEW very well at all. Let's make it clear. Ryan Nemec has not been depicted very well at all in AEW. This is one of the few times I've ever seen him really show what he could actually do, where he could win a match. And legitimately, he's pretty good at it. And seeing they do have certain amount of chemistry with ABC shows me that if they do it again, it will not be bad. It'll actually get better. So I don't know if they're going to win tomorrow. I'm not even going to try and guess. But seeing they'll have another chance at this, I'm not having a problem with seeing them. The first time is a good time because, hey, they're both having fun. I think this is the first time since they both have been wrestling separately that they had a chance to really tag together and have a lot of fun doing it. Now, I don't know if they ever tag together constantly. Actually, I think they should. I think, for one, it'll give them both a chance to bond together they wouldn't normally have. And I know you're saying, wait, why are we going from wrestling to brothers? Why not? We got two legitimate blood brothers who have never wrestled, where one legitimately went straight into WWE. The other one has been on independence by himself, and he stated on Chris Van Vliet's channel that he's done everything he can to do the opposite of his brother, because he just did not want to be compared to his brother because everyone kept comparing him. And now he's with him. And this is an opportunity I think they both should take. I know Nick may want to just work on his own a lot, but I think this might be a chance for him to really travel the road with his brother, have fun with his brother, and really bond when they never had a chance like this. They've been separated as pro wrestlers like that for years. Both of them having to stay on the road for years. So this will be something different. But this is just me. And I hope you enjoy this TNA Wrestling. Give me a comment below. Tell me how you feel about what I said in the very beginning, because it's honest and it is true. Peace.